Tallahassee, February 5, 2026. Inside the high-arched silence of the Florida Supreme Court, the air is thick with a tension that has been building for 7 years. Wade Wilson, the man the world knows as the Deadpool Killer, is fighting for the one thing he refused to give his victims: a second chance. The cameras are rolling, ready for a marathon of legal gymnastics. But then, the unthinkable happens. His attorney, Michael Ufferman, steps to the podium, adjusts his microphone, and looks the justices in the eye.
I don't intend to waste this court's time re-arguing things that have already been considered.
He doesn't launch into a fiery defense. He doesn't plead for mercy. Instead, he does something that sends a shockwave through the true crime community. He stops. Ufferman tells the court he will not waste their time re-arguing the law. Why? Because in the closing weeks of 2025, the legal ground beneath Wade Wilson's feet didn't just shift, it collapsed. The Florida Supreme Court had recently cemented its ruling in the Fletcher and Williams cases, upholding the state's controversial 8-4 non-unanimous death penalty law. In the eyes of the Florida justices, the bar for execution is no longer a consensus, it's a majority. And for a man who strangled 2 women and ran one over until she was unrecognizable, the court has seen enough. But this isn't just a story about a legal shutdown. This is a story about the terrifying mask of sanity. As we sit here in March 2026, we are witnessing a glitch in the human psyche. Wilson isn't just a prisoner, he's a digital deity. While the law prepares the needle, the internet is writing love letters. While the prosecution describes the heinous, atrocious, and cruel reality of what happened in Cape Coral, thousands of followers are gushing over his vibe and his smile. Wilson isn't fighting to prove he's innocent. He's fighting the clock. He is a man with a swastika on his cheek and a stitched-on grin who has successfully turned a death sentence into a brand. But as the state of Florida shuts the door on his final appeal, the question isn't just how he did it. It's why so many of us are still watching. Before we descend into the carnage of October 7, 2019, ask yourself, are we looking at a monster, or are we looking at a mirror of our own darkest curiosities? If you want to understand how a handsome devil becomes a hollowed-out soul, you're in the right place. Subscribe to The Dark Minds and hit that notification bell, because the deeper we go into the Wade Wilson files, the more you'll realize that the most dangerous part of this case isn't the killer, it's the audience. To understand why the law is so unyielding in 2026, we have to travel back to the humidity of a Florida autumn. October 7, 2019, Cape Coral. The night begins in a bar, a place for music and casual conversation. It's here that Wade Wilson meets 35-year-old Christine Melton. To Christine, Wade is just a man with a striking look and an easy charm. She invites him back to her home. She falls asleep, believing she is safe. She never wakes up. With no provocation and no motive, Wade Wilson strangles Christine Melton in her own bed. It is a crime of pure, cold-blooded impulse. But for Wilson, the night is just beginning. He doesn't flee. He steals Christine's car and her cell phone, and he begins to drive. By 8 a.m., the sun is up over Cape Coral, but the darkness hasn't lifted. Wilson is prowling the residential streets when he spots Diane Ruiz. She's 43, a mother, and she's simply walking to her job at a local bar. Wade pulls over. He asks for directions. He lures her into the stolen car with a mask of normalcy that should terrify us all. Inside that car, the nightmare repeats. He strangles Diane. But as he reaches a vacant field, he realizes something. She is still breathing. She is fighting. In a moment of heinous, atrocious, and cruel malice, words that would later define his death sentence, Wilson pushes her out of the vehicle. He doesn't drive away. He puts the car in gear and runs her over. Not once, not twice, but between 10 and 20 times. He would later tell his father that he kept going until she, in his words, looked like spaghetti. This wasn't just murder. It was a forensic signature of a man who viewed human life as something to be flattened, erased, and discarded. This is the evidence that the Florida Supreme Court reviewed in 2026. This is the reality that Wade's wives choose to ignore. The blood in Cape Coral was barely dry before Wade Wilson made the phone call that would eventually lead to his capture. But to understand his capture, we have to look at the one person who knew his mind better than anyone, the father who finally broke the silence. October 8th, 2019, Fort Myers, Florida. Wade Wilson is a man on the run, but he isn't hiding, he's talking. From a stolen cell phone, he reaches out to the one man who represents the life he never had, his biological father, Stephen Testaseca. For years, their relationship had been a series of fragments. Testaseca knew his son as a storyteller, a man who lived in the gray area between reality and delusion. So, when Wade's voice came crackling over the line that morning, claiming he had just ended 2 lives, Testaseca didn't believe him. He thought it was just another tall tale from a son desperate for attention. But then, the tone shifted. Wade didn't just confess, he bragged. He described the mechanics of the murder with a sickening, high-energy excitement. He told his father that he was a killer. He detailed the way he lured Diane Ruiz into the car, and the moment he realized she was still breathing. Then came the phrase that would haunt the 2024 trial and lead to the final 2026 shutdown. "I ran her over until she looked like spaghetti." In that moment, Stephen Testaseca realized the storyteller was gone. Standing in front of him, figuratively, was a monster. Testaseca did what most fathers couldn't imagine. He kept his son on the line, listening to the gruesome details of a double homicide while he signaled for help. The Lee County Sheriff's Office didn't have to hunt him, they just had to follow the signal. When the police closed in on Wilson in Fort Myers, they didn't find a man in the throes of a breakdown. They found a man who seemed to be enjoying the spotlight. He was arrested on October 8th, originally on unrelated battery and burglary charges, while the bodies of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz were still being processed. As we look back from the perspective of 2026, the testimony Testaseca gave on June 11th, 2024, remains the most chilling part of the record. A father, forced to admit to a jury that his own flesh and blood was excited by the carnage he had caused. It was this testimony, this proof of heinous, atrocious, and cruel intent that ensured the Florida Supreme Court would eventually discard Wilson's appeals. But as the cell door locked behind him in 2019, the world was about to meet the Deadpool Killer, and a dark, digital obsession was about to be born. The arrest was the end of the spree, but it was the beginning of the mask. In our next chapter, we look at the 2024 trial, the moment the Joker tattoos met the cold light of justice, and the jury made a decision that would change Florida law forever. If you're finding this deep dive into the dark mind of Wade Wilson insightful, make sure you're subscribed. We're tracking the final 2026 updates as they happen. Stay tuned. June 2024. The Lee County Courthouse in Fort Myers, Florida, becomes the epicenter of a national obsession. Wade Wilson sits at the defense table, but he doesn't look like a man on trial for his life. With his head held high, the Joker tattoos on his face seem to mock the very institution of justice. He isn't wearing a suit to hide his ink, he is wearing his crimes for the world to see. The prosecution, led by Andreas Gardner, doesn't just present evidence, they present a portrait of heightened premeditation. They show the jury the photos of Christine Melton's bedroom. They show the tire tracks in the dirt where Diane Ruiz was crushed. And then they play the tapes. Wilson's own voice fills the courtroom, devoid of a soul. He describes the murders not with regret, but with a terrifying clinical detachment. The defense tries to argue insanity, claiming a history of drug abuse and head trauma had broken Wade's mind. But the jury sees something else. They see a man who knew exactly what he was doing and exactly how much he enjoyed it. On June 12, 2024, the verdict comes in. Guilty on all counts. 2 counts of first-degree murder. But in Florida, the verdict is only half the battle. Now comes the penalty. This is where the dark minds of the legal system take over. Under Florida's new 2023 law, the very law challenged in the Fletcher and Williams cases we discussed, a unanimous vote is no longer required for death. The jury retreats. They deliberate on the fate of the man with the stitched-on smile. When they return, the room is breathless. For the murder of Christine Melton, the vote is 9-3 for death. For the murder of Diane Ruiz, the vote is 10-2 for death. In almost any other state in America, these split votes would mean life in prison. But in Florida, in 2024, they are a mandate for the needle. The final decision, however, rests with one man, Judge Nicholas Thompson. On August 27, 2024, Judge Thompson stares down at Wade Wilson. He acknowledges the defense's claims of a broken brain, but he weighs them against the heinous, atrocious, and cruel reality of the victim's final moments.
With a voice as cold as the evidence, Judge Thompson hammers down the sentence, death, twice over. Wilson's reaction? A smirk, a slight nod, as if he had expected it, or perhaps as if he wanted it. This was the moment the Deadpool Killer was officially born into the annals of death row. But as the shackles were tightened and Wilson was led away to Union Correctional Institution, a new and disturbing phenomenon was rising outside the courtroom walls. While the families of Christine and Diane finally sought peace, thousands of people across the globe were beginning to fall in love with the monster. While the state of Florida prepares its final protocols for execution in 2026, a different kind of energy is surging through the digital world. We are living in the era of the Wade's wives paradox, a phenomenon that has seen a double murderer transformed into a social media heartthrob. As of early 2026, the obsession hasn't faded. It has institutionalized. Between the day of his conviction in June 2024 and his sentencing later that summer, the Lee County Sheriff's Office reported a staggering surge in communication. Wilson received 3,903 electronic messages, 65 letters, and over 700 photos. Of those, nearly 200 were rejected by jail staff for being inappropriate in nature. These weren't just messages of support, they were pledges of loyalty. Women from around the world, from Canada to the UK, have flooded the court with letters. They don't write about the victims. They write about his facial structure. They claim that since being medicated in prison, his face has filled out, and they see a healthier man behind the ink. They beg the judge for mercy, citing his drug use and his lack of parental support as a broken child. In January 2026, the docuseries Handsome Devil, Charming Killer premiered on Paramount+, stripping back the curtain on this cult of Wade's wives. It revealed a community of thousands of women who spend their days creating fan-cam edits of Wilson smirking in court, setting his lack of remorse to trending pop songs. They send him money for his commissary. They argue over who loves him more. But this isn't just a fan club. It's a textbook study in Hybristophilia, the psychological attraction to those who commit the most horrific acts of violence. The irony is as sharp as a blade. While these fans campaign for his life, citing his growth and looks, the reality of his crimes remains unchanged. They choose to see a Joker or a Deadpool, a fictional anti-hero they can fix. They ignore the fact that the man they are romanticizing didn't just kill, he destroyed. State Attorney Amira Fox put it bluntly in late 2024, a sentiment that still echoes in 2026. I have never seen someone as evil as Wade Wilson. Pause. As we move toward the final chapter of this investigation, we have to look at the end of the road. With the Florida Supreme Court's 2026 rejection, the clock is ticking down to the final hour at Union Correctional Institution. The digital noise is loud, but the silence of death row is louder. Subscribe to The Dark Minds as we conclude this case with the reality of life on the row and the final legal moves that will determine if Wade Wilson becomes a martyr for his fans or a memory for his victims. Hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss the conclusion. March 3rd, 2026. The neon lights of social media feel a world away from the gray concrete of Rayford, Florida. Wade Wilson is no longer a viral sensation here. He is inmate number 544123 at the Union Correctional Institution. The Joker who mocked the court is now confined to a 6-by-9-foot cell for 23 hours a day. There are no cameras, no fan cams, and no filters. Only the reality of Florida's death row. In this place, time is the only currency. Wilson wears the orange shirt and blue pants of the condemned. When he moves, it is in shackles. Every hour, a guard's flashlight flickers across his tattooed face, a constant reminder that he is being counted, watched, and waited upon. He eats his meals alone, showered every other day, and passes his time in a cell where the only view is of his own reflection in a metal mirror. But while the physical world has shrunk, The legal world is in its final, frantic orbit. On February 5, 2026, just 26 days ago, the doors to the Florida Supreme Court slammed shut. His attorney, Michael Ufferman, stood before the justices and made a calculated move. By abruptly ending his challenge to the state's non-unanimous death penalty law, Ufferman wasn't giving up. He was preserving the record. He was clearing the brush to take this fight to the highest court in the land. As of today, the petition for a writ of certiorari is being prepared for the United States Supreme Court. The argument is no longer about whether Wade Wilson killed Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. It is about whether Florida's 8-4 sentencing system violates the Eighth Amendment's protection against cruel and unusual punishment. The fans are still typing. The Wade's wives are still sending money. They are waiting for a miracle from Washington, D.C. But the families of the victims are waiting for something else. They are waiting for the day Wade Wilson is moved from Union Correctional to the Death Watch cell at Florida State Prison, a room just feet away from the execution chamber.